to my last little topic here that I have, which I've been wanting to do for a little bit now, since the season ended a couple weeks ago, and that is to do a Witmer's critique on season 2 of Shrinking. And like I mentioned, I think it ended around Christmas time frame, like the week of Christmas, sometime around there. Season 2 had concluded, and I just wanted to give my overall kind of Witmer's critiques and kind of a review of how season 2 was. I'm not doing the whole kind of series and everything. I'm just specifically looking at how season 2 was. So pretty much like I did with Curb Your Enthusiasm, where I just looked at the final season of that. It's going to be similar in how I'm going to be doing this one. And I just kind of want to give my overall kind of opinions on it, because I felt like it was a very good show, and everything. I feel like not a ton of people really have been talking about it, but it is one that I've surprised about, honestly, in terms of how well it is. So yeah, without a further ado, let's kind of get in on this critique of Shrinking season 2. So overall, I felt like the season 2 was good, not great. Just overall as an aspect, and I'll go a little bit deeper into my kind of feelings on this, but I feel like there were moments in the season where they tried a little bit too hard to be funny, and I feel like that kind of overshadowed more serious moments here and there. Or it was one of those things where they'd have there'd be like a good like one-liner, a good joke kind of thing, and then they kind of add like an additional joke on top of that, where it just kind of makes it unfunny kind of thing. That's kind of the one little caveat I had on this season. One of the few caveats I had on the season as a whole. The other part that I didn't love was that there were some episodes where I felt like they were very where they ended an episode on like a kind of a cliffhanger kind of thing, but then in the next episode that followed it, it would be, there were not every episode, but there'd be moments where it would just not really be touched upon really at all, but essentially just have little nods to what the episode kind of was. And I feel like the big case of this was Sean and his dad kind of thing, because at the beginning of the season you kind of talk or wanted to get a little deeper into like his kind of backstory, how at first he doesn't want to meet up with his one of his best buddies from when he was back in the military, because all he wants to talk about is that time in the military and everything, and Sean just doesn't want to deal with that. And the same thing with his dad, kind of avoiding both of those things. So at the beginning of the season you just kind of see them talking about it's here and there, but you have to talk to your dad kind of thing, you should have to air this out. Then there's a moment at a cliffhanger where Sean has this moment with his dad or food truck, and the dad just walks off angrily and blames it on the therapist kind of, or therapy kind of blaming it on him, all of it on him kind of thing, and he just didn't like that. And I feel like, well, the next episode I think they touched on it here and there. I just feel like overall I would have, because that's such a big kind of story arc development kind of thing, that I felt like it just kind of got an episode and a half to kind of play out, and then just didn't really get played out again until like the last episode or two, where then you have like little moments here and there on Thanksgiving of him and his dad kind of thing, where they're getting better, but his dad isn't still not quite opening up kind of thing, but there's a mutual understanding there, and he's trying, that Sean's dad is at least. So touching kind of thing for Sean to have to go through that and everything. And I understand that Shrinking as a show is touching upon many different kind of things people go in their life kind of stuff. I just feel like there was so much going on. Could have easily had that story have its own kind of arc in a separate season. I felt like every other character's kind of thing that they went throughout the season just kind of went up the other, and it just didn't really, and it felt like it kind of overshadowed other kind of moments here and there. That's one thing, gripe I have on the series as a whole. Outside of that, it's a very good show, very funny. Again, in terms of how I felt about the performances as a whole, I liked Jason Segel's character. He was very likable, even though he's very much still going through stuff. Harrison Ford, even though it's weird seeing him in this kind of role, it is kind of humorous to see in how he does in terms of jokes. The other caveat I have of him is at times he can be the seriousness followed by him being very childish. I felt like it's a bit much in terms of the comedy. And I feel like the one episode you saw it the most was in the season finale where they're at Thanksgiving and he's very much not wanting to be there kind of thing. It just felt like that was just didn't sit the best with me. But I will say, I do feel like this is one of the better comedy shows I've seen in the last few years. So overall, again, like I said, I feel like I'm repeating myself here a few times, but overall, again, great, good, not great. The season as a whole, outside of those mini caveats that I had, I felt flowed very well. Story arcs and everything. And I felt like even though I did not love moments here and there where they have a cliffhanger, and then it got like essentially one episode dealt with one character at a time, where I felt like they could have done a more season arc. The biggest season arc story obviously was dealing with the guy coming back into their lives who caused the accident that obviously caused the death of Jason Segel's wife in the show, which obviously was very heartfelt. And I, even though I'm not like a therapist or any kind of psychiatrist and everything, I felt like it was very, the way they've gone about this story and everything is very, I felt very true to life kind of thing. It didn't feel overwhelmed, and I feel like some series may have taken it a different angle, but it didn't really play to real life kind of situations. I feel like this is more real life to that, because at one moment you think he's doing well because he's getting his life together, he's fixing his relationship with his daughter and all this, and then the next thing you know, it's very much still not, he hasn't really played, or everything plaguing him in the past is still very much there, and him feeling like he hasn't done well in terms of as a father and failing his daughter and everything. And that's the basic kind of understanding of what he's aimed of himself for. But overall, again, very good show, very funny. But I just think Jimmy as a character just was, his story was very kind of touching and everything. I feel like people can kind of relate to that, where even though in a lesser sense to what Jimmy's going through in the series, I feel like there was moments where people will go, oh, I'm doing well here, and then just something happens life-wise, and then you realize, oh wait, no, I still have stuff to work out kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see how they go about everything in season 3. It seemed very much that Jimmy was starting to become friends with, and it's kind of dropping my mind at the moment, but I forget who the guy's name was, accidentally killed his wife in an accident and everything. And I felt like so much of everything that happened in that series flowed well. That's why I'm saying it flowed well, is everything that the main story kind of focused on. The little stories I felt like were too big to be little stories that each character is kind of going through. And that's just kind of the more areas, like I mentioned, that I wasn't the biggest fan of. The thing I was very surprised about was, because I just went into it assuming, because most shows these days, a season's only 10 episodes. So the fact that this had actually 12 episodes in it, I actually found it very surprising. That does make it a little worse, because there were some episodes where I feel like they didn't really move the story much at all. And because of that, it just didn't really, I felt like you could have filmed one episode less of that and just make it still have it make sense kind of thing. But overall, if I had to give it, because most of my ratings in terms of TV shows and movies like I've done in the past is very similar to that of like a Rotten Tomatoes kind of score, where it's a 0 out of 100 scale. For season 2, I'm giving it a solid 80, so a B. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it already. And again, like I mentioned, I think it is one of the best comedy show series that I've seen in a very long time. yes, it has moments where it may be a little too much in terms of the comedy department, or a little moment not slapsticky, but still in that similar kind of range where you kind of see the joke coming a mile away. And while I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of stuff, everything else around it, I think, actually makes it a good show overall. So again, if you aren't seeing it, you should give it a try if you have Apple TV. I'd definitely give it a shot if you haven't already. That's all I really got in terms of this review. If there's any other shows or series, movies, anything like that you guys want to see me kind of talk about or see and give me my review on, or if you guys thought the same way in terms of season 2 or Shrinking as a whole, leave a comment down below. I'd love to know what you guys thought of the you guys think of the show, and what other stuff you guys like to see me do in the future.